Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
Mangalampalli Balamuralikrishna, a name that evokes instant recognition among aficionados of classical Indian music anywhere in the world. More than recognition, respect, admiration, even awe. For Balamuralikrishna has been a truly awesome and enduring talent. We are happy to present Padma Vibhushan Dr. Balamuralikrishna, the man and his music. Please throw your mind back, sir, as far as it can go over the decades, and just tell us what is the earliest memory that you have of your own life, of your own childhood. What do you remember?
Anything about me is generally about music only, nothing else. I mean, since my childhood only, I have been connected to music. The first memory which I always cherish is that my father was a great vocalist, violinist, veena player and flutist. I was having a fascination for violin since my birth. I don't know why. But my father never allowed me to play any instrument. He thought I should concentrate only on vocal. But I have been always seeing him playing and teaching to students on violin, and there is a violin in my house. So I was getting excited whenever I see the violin, but I was prevented from touching it. But since my childhood, that is, as far as I remember, since my 4th year, 5th year, I used to pick up the upper portion and down portion of a calendar and take the 2 sticks and keep with me and play like violin. I used to carry whenever I was traveling with my father or with my mother to outside places also. Then one day, it so happened that my father had to go out of station. My mother means my mother's eldest sister who brought me up. She was there at home. And I think I have practiced very well with both the sticks. And one day, I couldn't control myself, the emotion. And I took the violin from the box and I played Adatal Varnam Bhairavi Varnam immediately. That was the first time I was touching the violin and I could play the Varnam very well.
I think many of our listeners may not know the particular composition you're speaking about.
I'm talking about Viriboni in Adatal Varnam,
yeah.
Adiyappaya's composition. It's very difficult to play on violin unless you practice very well from the beginning. My stepmother, my mother's eldest sister who brought me up, she listened. She was surprised, who is that playing violin here? She came out from the kitchen and then saw me playing. And I was afraid. Immediately I took out the violin and kept in the box. So there was no comment about that immediately. And my father returned. She told him that this was happened. So my father asked me, of course he was not angry, but he didn't believe it. And he asked me, what did you do when I was out of station? I said, I'm sorry father, excuse me, I have touched the violin and I have played something. Okay, what did you play? What can you play? He said. I said, I can play whatever I know. Okay, then play for me now, he said. Then I played the same Varnam again. He was surprised to see. I said, so that means you have been taking my violin and practicing without my knowledge all these days. He said, I said, no, I never touched it. First time I touched it. So he was very happy and he hugged me and said, okay, you will become a great violinist too. That moment I always remember.
But this Viriboni Varnam that you speak about, this is something you had already learnt by then in vocal music.
Yes, by 5th year, I think I knew about 50 Gitas and about 100 Varnas and about 100 Kirtanas I know at 5th year. All this I know means whenever my father used to teach students, I used to get by heart everything. Once if I listen, I'll remember it. Even now, I remember those compositions which I heard when I was in childhood, but later on, even my own compositions now I don't remember. Those songs which I have learned from my father and from my guru, I still remember.
I think it would be wonderful if you can, just give us the first phrase or two of that first song that you played.
Sure, I will do it for you.
They say that if you want to succeed in life, you must choose your parents wisely. So you seem to have done that because you mentioned that your father was very musically talented and your mother too, I believe, was a very good Veena exponent. So temptation is to remark that naturally, therefore, you were a talented child. And yet it isn't a commonplace phenomenon after all. We see lots of musically talented parents who don't necessarily produce equally talented children, let alone prodigies. Were any of your other sisters or brothers equally talented?
No, there are two things. You see, one thing, sometimes if father and mother are musicians, the child may lose the opportunity. Sometimes it coincides that they sacrifice everything for their child and then see that the child comes up in the art. So in that way, I think I was fortunate that my father has sacrificed all his life in so many ways for my sake. So in that way, God has given me a father who was my guru and who was my everything, my mother too. About my mother, if I have to say that she was an extraordinary lady and something peculiar about her. You want me to tell about that?
Yes, please.
My mother was a great Veena player and my father married her very late because in those days nobody used to give the child to a musician. In those days music and dance considered as not very good for family life. So my maternal grandfather, Prayaga Rangadas, who is a very great composer and musician, and I tell you his compositions are really excellent. He composed a very few songs, but those songs are first of its kind, not only in the style, the way how he composed, but the music is something very great. I can sing for you a few lines of his songs later on. And so his daughter, his youngest daughter, was given to my father. My mother used to play Veena. In fact, she was the first lady in those days to come out from the house and given an opportunity to play on the platform for the audience. The first kacheri, probably a lady artist in those days in Andhra Pradesh. I don't know about other states in those days. She gave a performance and her performance was appeared in papers and it was appreciated. And actually, my mother, when she was carrying me, I understand she used to practice on Veena for nearly 6 to 8 hours a day. When doctors advised her she should not take so much strain, then she told the doctor and said, "Don't disturb me. I am not practicing Veena. I am teaching music to my son." That's how she replied. And she was taken for delivery to one of her elder sister's place, Shankaraguptam, a place in East Godavari district. It is a small village in between sea and the backwaters. There were only about 6 to 8 houses and there I was born. My mother was quite all right after delivery, easy delivery, normal delivery, and she was quite all right. But still, on the 12th day of my birth, she called my father who was in Vijayawada. He settled down in Vijayawada by that time. So in those days to reach that place, it took 3 days. It's a very difficult to travel to go to that place. One has to change trains in 3 places. In Narsapur, up to Narsapur from Vijayawada, one has to go by train, change trains in 3 places. And in Narsapur was a small town. In that, from that he has to go to Godavari. Godavari river is there. They have to cross by a boat that river and then take a bus and travel about 30 kilometers. And from there one has to travel by bullock cart. And afterwards 1 kilometer one has to walk in the sands. And then again backwaters one has to cross by boat and reach that place. So he reached that place on the 14th day of my birth. That day my mother seems to have told my father that, you see, don't think otherwise, I am going to tell you a news. What is that? See, the purpose of my life is to give a child who will become very great and who will keep up the name and fame of our family for 7 generations. Therefore, the purpose is over. I want to take leave from you. I am leaving this world. If I am alive, this boy will not come up. Therefore, give me permission. And if you can remain bachelor, remain bachelor. If you want to marry, you marry. I have no objection. But in that case, you give this child to my eldest sister. Her eldest sister became widow at the age of 9. In those days, you know what is the life of a widow. So she was alone. So you take her and let her bring up this child. Then my father said something wrong. with the health and with the mind. She was talking some nonsense. And he just took it lightly. And 15th day she died. Without any reason she died. So I have never seen my mother. Then my father took a vow that he would not play flute or veena. And he also never allowed me to play flute. In fact, I am very fond of playing flute. But I also promised him I will not play flute. But veena, I mean, I like it, but I can only demonstrate, I can only teach it only to the mission. I never venture to play it as a performing thing. It so happened that there was nothing else in me except music since that. And from that time onwards, my father remained like that. And he concentrated his full life, for my music. And that was the reason probably I was nothing else except whenever I hear music. And my father sometimes warned me that your mind is like blotting paper. You must hear only good music. If you hear something else, it will again, you will pick it up. Be careful. So that's how it happened.
It's a very, very interesting story because she seems to have been a very wise lady, your mother. And she seems to have been very much ahead of her times about this, you know, she said she's playing to her son. Because nowadays it's been proved even by scientific research that a child in the womb can pick up sounds from outside and can
I'm also
start
experimenting on that basis.
On that.
I got,
we will be talking about that later.
Yeah, why I'm telling all this because therefore I have no brothers, I have no sisters.
So this is like the story of Bhakta Prahlad, who learnt in his mother's womb.
But luckily, the only change is I have a good father.
That much musical background in the house, your father playing that many instruments and so on.
Yeah.
As you say, your earliest memories are all to do with music and the whole atmosphere was steeped in music.
Yes. Now I know what I have missed in that childhood, but at that time
I was just about to ask you just that. Did you... So you wouldn't have had what is called a normal childhood as such.
Yes.
So
normal.
was it very different from the other children of that place? And did you at that time notice that you were somehow different and set apart from that?
I knew that I was different from that. How and what the difference? I mean, mind to understand. I was too young for that. In those days, I knew great musicians of Andhra Pradesh only. There were great musicians like, along with my Guruji, there were great musicians, Dwaram Venkateswamy Naidu, and Hari Nagabhushanam, and Piratla Shankaraya Shastri, and then when there was a person, Mahavadi Venkatappa Shastri, Kurovi Satyanarayana. They were all famous musicians in those days. And I used to hear them. But the surprise was that in those days, the boy prodigy, the child prodigy was T.R. Mahalingam.
Flute Mahalingam.
He gave a performance in Vijayawada. And for the first time, my Guruji told me, go and listen to him. I went and listened to him. I think at that time he was playing very well. And he was also a young child, so he was playing very well. And I liked it, his playing. Then my Guruji and all told me that you should also become like that.
So that was... you were thinking back about your first concert, vocal music concert.
Yes.
But you also had an omnivorous talent, if one could call it that, for musical instruments. And you picked up so easily the playing of so many musical instruments, not just the violin. Yeah. Did that come along simultaneously, or was it sort of serially one after the other? How did it happen?
The thing is that, I have realized even at that time that about the rhythm, I should know some rhythmical instrument. That is mridangam or kanjira, something like that. And another thing is about my guru. He used to teach some instrument to all the vocal students. And he used to teach even if the voice is not good, one probably may settle down as an instrumentalist. But he should learn vocal and then play instrument. So like that, all my classmates, they are both vocalists and instrumentalists. So that gave me more opportunity to play instruments. And the first mridangist who played for me was Mahadev Radhakrishna Razu. He was the grand disciple of Palani Subramanya Pillai. Recently he passed away. And he was a very great mridangist. So when he played, I was watching him how he's playing mridangam. The same thing I told you, and I don't know whether if I say you believe or I'm exaggerating. One day I took his mridangam and started playing. The things have come to me only like that. And many more incidents in my life I can quote you later. Then he was surprised how I playing mridangam. I started playing mridangam. I started playing kanjira only at that age. In fact, when I was 14 years old, I have accompanied on the violin to Arekud Ramanujangar, Maharajapuram Vishwanathaiyar, and I have accompanied to G.N. Balasubramaniam many concerts on violin, and I have accompanied Chittur Subramanya Pillai, all the stalwarts of Tamil Nadu musicians, Andhra Pradesh musicians. I have accompanied between the age of 14 and 20. So then I was known as a violinist also, and it so happened one day. I told you one of the great musicians in those days, Mahavadi Venkatappa Shastri. He was, there was a great drama artist and a film artist also, Suri Babu. He was a great, very famous artist of films and stage dramas. He was very fond of my music. So one day he called me to his house and asked me to play violin, and he asked that Mahavadi Venkatappa Shastri to sing, just homely, himself and his wife. And so I played violin. He sang, and then immediately he took an instrument, a bigger size than violin, from inside, which was not in condition, that he presented to me, and it is viola. So he said, "You are bigger than violinist. Your music is bigger than the violin playing. You have this instrument and try on this instrument. Nobody played Carnatic classical music on viola. Nobody is there. So why don't you do something?" So I was very much glad, felt very happy, and then he got it repaired and gave me. Then when I played viola, I found that it's more good for our system of music than violin. There are certain handicaps in the violin which are not there in the viola. Then I started playing viola. I have accompanied on viola to all these stalwarts, and now also I play solo programs and all that. In that way, I think I am the first to play viola in South India, and probably, I don't know, I think I am the only top ranking classical Carnatic violist in South.
So this was when you started playing viola in your middle teens, is it?
About 18 years, 17 years.
So
by that time I have become a composer. That is a different story.
So all these instruments you were
Yes.
self-taught?
All self-taught.
You didn't have any gurus for any of these instruments?
No. For everything, my guru is only guru to me. All his blessings, and I could get everything like that.
You mentioned a little earlier that, you had a very unusual childhood in more ways than one, because many of your disciples were older than you. So when did you start having disciples?
Yes, the thing is, how it happened, I tell you. My Guruji, when he became little old, and he could not teach to all students, unless except a few senior students, he was feeling, a little bit tiresome to teach. So he asked all his students to go to Balamurali and learn. Because I was very young, then he thought he could. So they used to come to my house. They were all elder to me. They used to come to my house, and I used to pose myself as a great guru. And just like how my Guruji was sitting in an easy chair, I also used to have an easy chair and sit in the easy chair. And it was, a sight. They were all sitting on the floor on a mat, and then I was teaching as I used to feel I am guru and all that. It was also a childish way of thinking, but I used to enjoy that. And I used to teach them. That way, I had the disciples very elder. Even now, I have elder disciples. And recently, I'm sorry to say that very recently, one of my senior students, a violinist in Kerala, he died at the age of 80. Yes.
Thinking back, do you think that was a learning experience for you? Teaching these people, was it a learning experience?
It is. To some extent, it's an experience, but sometimes I used to feel teaching is not good. Because when we teach to a pupil who cannot immediately grasp, and we have to find out the ways how he will be able to understand what I want him to sing. For that, we used to, make into pieces, break the thing and teach. If we teach like that about 5 or 6 times, naturally we forget the original idea. So sometimes, there were times when I felt, we should not take much teaching. It's not good unless the student is good grasping, understanding immediately. For a raw student, it's not good to take up.
You said that your father compared you to a piece of blotting paper because you were absorbing everything that you were hearing and noticing. Did the same thing apply to Sahityas? Because you seem to have picked up a whole repertoire, compositions very early.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for a child to memorize that many compositions in different languages. Did it come easily to you?
No, in those days the question of different languages didn't arise. Only the compositions of Trinity and my grandfather's compositions are like songs like Bhadrachal Ramdas and in those days which were popular, the Tarangams and like that. But I remember all the Sahitya very well. But I had a peculiar habit of understanding the meaning of the word, each word, so that even whether we sing correctly or not, we should not sing wrong. That was my attitude. So I used to ask the meaning. In fact, I have no education. I have no general education at all. I have not learned even Telugu or Sanskrit or any other language by any source, not even English. I have not learned. And but I used to concentrate on Sahitya and I used to enjoy the poetry of great people. So I think this instinct came to me from my maternal grandfather because he was a great poet also. So I never thought that I would compose, even lyric. Or even I never thought that I would compose music too. So it happened, these opportunities have come and some compulsion was there that I had to compose songs. You know what happened one day, shall I tell you that?
Please.
One Vimalananda Bharati Swamiji, he was the spiritual guru of my guru. He was living in Machilipatnam near Vijayawada. When I was 14 years old, he camped at Vijayawada. Luckily he stayed opposite to my house. And he used to like my music. In fact, along with my Guruji, I used to go to his place and I used to sing. And he used to ask me to sing more and more. Then when he was camping, one day, I think I remember at about 1 o'clock afternoon, when he was resting, he called me. He sent word for me and I went. And then he had put some questions to me. Like he asked me, you see, I want to know certain things from you. That is, what was the music before Tyagaraja? And there are so many composers, so many Vagyayikaras are there. Why Tyagaraja is very popular? What is the speciality of Tyagaraja's music or his compositions? Have you ever thought of it? I said, no. What was the music before Tyagaraja? I said, I don't know. We know only music after Tyagaraja's. Before Tyagaraja's, how the music is, I don't know. Okay. Then, do you like Tyagaraja's? Yes. Why? What is his greatness? What is his speciality? Can you tell me? I couldn't clarify things, but I know something, but I was hesitant to talk to him. He was a great man. Then he said, look, listen to me. He did something what others have not done. So Tyagaraja became great. After Tyagaraja, many people composed, but they are not equally respected or known compared to Tyagaraja. Therefore, I want to tell you that you should do something which others have not done, so that you will be remembered in future. You should concentrate on that, not like just imitating and singing the same songs, old songs, sung by some. Why don't you compose? Why don't you do something? Your blessings, I may do it. Then I thought, what is that I should do? I should compose. What? There is a composition like Tyagaraja, there is a composition like Dikshitar, a composition like Bhadrachal Ramdas. No, there should be a composition of Balamurali. A stamp should be there. Individuality should be there. For that, what to do? Then it struck me that in our music system, the 72 Melakarta system is the most important thing which is ignored by all musicians. And why? Only a few of them are popular. Why not all the 72 Melakartas are not popular? What is the reason, I thought. Then I thought the singing is difficult for certain Vivadi Swaras and all that difficult. Therefore, they have ignored it. Okay, to sing any raga, what is the basis? A composition is the base. Unless there is a composition, raga is not there. Therefore, any raga is very well known, recognized because of the composition. So many new ragas are known to us because Tyagaraja composed. So I thought I should compose songs in all the 72 Melakartas in such a way that they are attractive, easy to sing, very easy to follow. So then I thought, has anybody done it before? I went through. Yes, a few people, 1 or 2 persons did it. But I was not happy with their doing. For instance, Mahavajjanatha Iyer, he composed only one song as Ragamalika in all the 72. It's not possible to sing. And it's very small, each raga is only 2 lines, 2 sangatis. The Raga Swarupa is not enough. Nor poetry nor music was not up to the mark. Therefore I thought it's not good. And afterwards I heard some Koteswara Iyer, he composed in the 72 Melakartas. I was not satisfied with his way of, I don't know about lyric, but about music point of view. He could not give the actual picture of certain ragas. Therefore I thought I should compose songs. So I have composed songs in all the 72 Melakartas, started at the age of 14, completed at the age of 16. The book was published at my age 17. But there were so many oppositions of myself singing my own compositions, so I could not sing all of them and popularize. But now they are very popular. It is recorded on cassettes. I mean, there are many students who learned all of them, and the new difficult ragas anybody can easily sing if they learn once. So that was the first inspiration for me from that great Swamiji. So then, since then, became a composer. Otherwise, I never wanted to be composer. Even then, after composing the 72 songs, 72 Melakarta songs, I never wanted to compose. Why I have composed afterwards, it's a different story. I may tell you later.
Do you remember the very first one that you composed?
First one I composed in Kanakangi, the first
Sample, please.
First Melakarta. Shri Putraya Namostute Vignavinashaya Vibhava Pradaya Shri Putraya Namostute Vasishtari Muni Pungava Pujitaya Varinyaya Mahabalaya Pashankushadharaya Lambodaraya Ambasutaya Varamurali Gana Sudharasanubhavaya Srisha Putraya Namostute. After composing a few songs like this, one day it so happened, one Mr. Ayyappa Shastri, a Shatavadhani, a great scholar in Sanskrit, Telugu, and a great poet and great Avadhani. One day, early morning at 5 o'clock, he came to my house and he disturbed my sleep and my father's sleep. He came with the wet dhoti at 4 o'clock early morning, and his eyes were reddish and so much excitement. And he asked my father, "Send your boy along with me now." He demanded. Then my father was shivering, and then he could not say no. So immediately I took bath and I went to his house along with him. Then he taught me, he took a piece of paper and wrote to me and gave me the fundamental principles of the poetry. What is rhythm of the poetry? What is yati? What is prasa? What is gana? What is adi prasa? What is antya prasa? And gana, yati, all these things he taught me. Once I heard, I remember it very well. Then after I learned that, when I looked back to my compositions, I felt they were all right, nothing wrong. So in that way, the fundamental theory of the poetry I learned from him. It's all God's blessings.
You mentioned that, your guru had a spiritual guru to whom you paid several visits over the years.
Yeah.
I was just wondering whether along with this musical ethos in your house, there was also any type of deep spiritual ethos or religious type of atmosphere. Was that there in your house?
In fact, in my house it was not there, because after the demise of my mother, my father became morose and he was not paying any attention to these stuff things. But it's not that neither encourage, discouraging about that. Just like that. My father also not to go to, he never went to temples and pray or do any spiritual things in the house, except a few things like my mother's ceremony or somebody's celebrating my birthday, something like that. But it was not so. So that type of atmosphere was not there in my house.
I was just trying to trace the background for the intense bhava that you're known to display when you sing the sahitya of the compositions.
You see,
whether that's got a deep, a religious thing, or is it a musical base?
No, it is, mostly musical, because if there is a song we have to sing, you should sing that like a song, not like a raga. Raga should be like raga. Song should be like a song, and swara should be like swara. This is lacking in North Indian music, and it used to be in our music also. Nobody paid attention to the clarity of producing the words and the meaning. They cut off the middle of the word and never bothered about the meaning of the song. I thought it's absolutely wrong. Therefore, it is very necessary to understand the bhava of the poetry Otherwise, why should you sing a song? You sing a raga and keep quiet. So when you sing a song, you must know what you are singing, the mind and the heart of the composer who did that poetry, and you should be able to express the same feelings what the original composer had. So that way I have developed, and probably I have little bit sacrificed the so-called traditional way of singing also for the sake of producing the lyrics with clarity and bringing out the meaning of the song. But I think I am not wrong.
Absolutely right, I would say. Now, you are an unmistakable child prodigy by any yardstick. Now, there have been recorded other child prodigies. You yourself mentioned T.R. Mahalingam at that time, who was very gifted as a child. Now, I would think that this would lay tremendous stress on this child because the expectations are so high. And once this child has shown this remarkable gift, people would say, come on, sing some more, play some more, or, travel here and there, have kacheris here and there. And then, learn that. Don't do it this way, don't do it that way. So this type of stress, do you remember feeling in your own childhood? Or were you able to?
Yes, I was having all hardships since my childhood because it is natural that if you find something new and you try to not to accept or encourage, sometimes discourage, give the wrong advices. I had many like that. But because of my strong will on my own thinking, I was not influenced much about these advices. In fact, there was a strong opposition of my singing my own compositions. He thought it's not traditional. Although I used to say, Tyagaraja sang only his own compositions, nobody else, why not I? But they could not give me any correct answer to my satisfaction. But all right, they are telling for some other reason. I continue to sing. I don't care. That was how. But because I used to travel a lot. And in fact, like nowadays, the film shows, I had shows 2, 3 a day. And so I think I was very strenuous at that time. My father also was advised not to give strain to his child, but we couldn't help it. So by that, what happened? There was a strong feeling, a dissatisfaction in my circles, relations, that they are spoiling me because I don't have any general education. Therefore, nowadays, who can say that he can live very well with this music as main? But he should have some general education, some general qualification also, so that if something happens, this voice and all that, there will be a change naturally. Voice break will be there for every person. I used to sing in 5.5 Shruti, and I used to sing like a girl, not like a boy. And when maturity comes naturally, there will be a break in the voice. And I have experienced that, but luckily very few months. But I was terribly disappointed, I lost because of that. Then everybody realized that I was not educated enough and what he should have got some job and settled down. Now his voice is gone and people are there to feel very happy. Many people were very happy that there was a break in my voice and I would not sing anymore. And then they used to take advantage because my father did not listen to their advice, nor I. Therefore, a time had come that I had to think over what to do. It's a different story. Then one day I heard my father and my Periyamma, my mother's elder sister, were talking confidentially, thinking that I was asleep. But I was over-listening. He said, I told you many times, send him to school, give him some general education. Before that, what happened? My father took me to a school. First of all, he straight away took me to a high school, and then at that time I was already popular. So the headmaster interviewed me. You know what interview? He asked me to sing a song. I sang a song and then, okay, you join in first form tomorrow. I said, first form? I don't know what is that. I never gone, even third class or first class, second class, I never. Anyway, I joined. Then I was taught the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and small A, B, C, D, E, F and these things. Even that I could not get. I used to go to school. My father used to take me in his bike. I used to go to school. When I go to school, the headmaster and all other class teachers, all students gather in one place. They ask me to sing. I sing. The time is over. We all go back. This is how the classes were there for about 6 months. And there was one mathematics teacher. He was against music and he was against me. He told everyone that this boy has come to this school to spoil this school. You should get out from this school. Then what to do? He was always looking at me very harsh and he asked fight with me. I think 1 or 2 times he even scolded me. And I said, what can I do? So you learn. Yes, I am learning, sir. Okay, 6 months over. Then there were half-yearly examinations. I was given a piece of paper and a pencil to answer the question paper. I couldn't understand anything. Nothing I wrote. I gave back the empty papers and came back. And my mathematics teacher, you know what he did? He folded the paper, my answer paper, and I think he asked me about 4 into 2 what, something like that, and I wrote wrong. And then he gave marks a very good, like full moon, a round 0, a big 0 on the paper, and come here, show your marks to your father, get out, he said. So I took that paper and showed my father, and of course he knew, he didn't feel anything. Then after 2 or 3 days, he asked me again, did you show you? Yes, sir. Are you not ashamed of it? I said, no, I am not ashamed. Because, sir, you are a great artist. I said, what? Artist? How could you find? Sir, I have been trying to just give the same round in the pencil so correctly like full moon. I am not able to do it. You did it. You are a great artist. You are a great, very great artist. The first time I saw him smiling. And then the headmaster called my father and said, you better keep him in music. There is no need. If he feels that some education is necessary, he himself will pick up like how he picked up music. Don't worry about him. Bless him. So that was my school life for 6 months. Those 6 months I have not learned anything except I have spoiled